Welcome back, everybody. Today is Thursday, April 17th, 2025. This is our weekly hour-long Recoup check-in. We're doing it a day early because I'm going on vacation this weekend. Sid was flexible enough to let us switch it. So today we're going to be going into our hour-long combo where my main question is, what are the tasks I'm working on in the week that is coming? Planting those seeds always helps me to think through it. Oftentimes in the past iterations, we stray away from it. We set goals, and then as soon as Monday comes around, all the goals that we set get deprioritized for something else. Just an observation. I don't know if that's a good thing or a bad thing. I don't want to put an emotional weight on it, but leaving knowing this is the list of things I'm going to prioritize helps me to orient the week that is incoming, and that's the main thing I want to take away. Posing the same question I always do when we start these weekly streams. Sid, one word. How are you feeling today? And in one sentence, what do you need today?
Oh, I feel grounded today. I feel very grounded. And today I need confidence.
Any more context on that?
I really like what you said about going into the week ahead, knowing what we're going to do and taking the weekend to really think through the MIQs to tackle the week ahead efficiently. I think the last week that you did that proved to be very successful with what we shipped. And I want to continue that momentum and try to drive that feeling of we're confidently leaving here with knowing what we want to achieve next week so that you have the space to think through the MIQs throughout the weekend.
You said we did a good job of that last time. Do you remember what we ended with or what we came into focus? Was that for this week, last week coming into this week, or were you referencing a different week?
Correct. Last week coming into this week, I think just we found a lot of momentum. We are able to track. I mean, on my side, like my MIQ is how do I track what everybody's doing on the app? And that coupled with your MIQ of how do I build the tool to help track all of that. So yeah, it was just like the momentum would not having that tool would not we would have been blind at everything that happened this week. And so I think that like understanding that what can we build in order to keep that momentum going.
For reference on what I had written down last week, this was the list of tasks. Is this backwards for you?
Yeah. Oh,
this is the list of out of last week. This was the list that I had written. Number 6 and 7 were added this week, but number 1 was MCP to serverless because we were getting a whole bunch of errors. I thought it was cold start errors. Number 2 was 1 RPM. That was the main goal, getting a tool for 1 RPM that they had referenced that they wanted. We did that. Improved onboarding, generate viral text, recoup to a mini app, remove autopilot. Recent chats don't populate until you refresh the page, and Bully Meow being able to fix his onboarding to get scraping right. And so we had originally said the Get Artist tool is the most important. And then like you said, coming into this week, you had sent me a couple bugs that were like, the app's crashing. I'm unable to sell if we can't, if the product is not working. I saw your message, but kind of just like let it sit because part of me wanted to jump right into implementing the solution. And I think, like you said, it was good that I had space to think on it over the weekend. You had primed my mind with it after our stream, but before Monday. And so then I was able to think through, this is what I think the answer is, but I don't confidently know. And so rather than jumping into implementing the solution, adding reporting with the Telegram bot, we even iterated and going like, let's report it in Slack. And then I was like, I think Telegram's a better option. And you let me pivot over to Telegram. I think that the reporting is something that I check in on now. Like I just open up that Telegram chat in the morning and I'm like, who's using it? What errors are we seeing? And it lets me, as someone building the product, see what's going on. Do you want to reflect on do you have your goals written down from last week, or do you want to reflect on on your last week's shipment, what we talked about last week, and then what you actually got to implementing this week?
Yeah, I don't have. What do I have? No, I got a new notebook. I keep getting pop-ups of the Remarkable notebook, and I just got a new notebook, so I don't have the stuff from last week. But now I kind of want to get them Remarkable because like it'll always be there. Yeah, so I might jump on one. But last week I was focused on customer success, getting people to use the product, and making sure that by the time I have an onboarding call with them, their account and active artists have a knowledge base, has at least scraped some Instagram posts, and yeah, just starting that conversation of like from starting a free trial to then tracking how they're using the app, and then figuring out how I can help them use the app more, get more value from it, and handhold them through the free trial so that they continuously get more value. And then also just start to track the metrics of conversations sent per day, how many of the conversations are positive versus negative, how many people seem to be stumbling. And so it's like a great week of insights, which I think goes back to my feeling of grounded, where previously, before we didn't have these insights, I was much more flailing of like, we got to do this feature, but this also needs, and this, but now I'm feeling a lot more like, okay, 50% of people are getting this bug. Let's fix this bug. Okay, 50% of people are asking this question. Let's implement this tool. And I really am happy about that. So I want to continue this pace. It's like a very peaceful pace, And I also, you said last week, I want to highlight what you just said, because I felt the same way where like I saw people were getting the bugs and we had just onboarded 1 RPM. And so I pinged you, I think on Friday with the thing, but I didn't hear back from you until Sunday night. And internally I was freaking out, bro. In my gut, I was like, why is Sweets not answering me? People are not able, the thing's broken. We just onboarded at 1 RPM, and so internally my inner ego or dialogue was yelling at myself, well, what the fuck is Sweets doing? But I say all of that to say, like, I agree in hindsight, looking back, that like, had you responded quickly and matched my anxiety, we probably wouldn't have shipped something that worked as well. It would have been a quick Band-Aid fix. And then we would have spent all week trying to iterate on improving the fix that was jumped on. Whereas taking the day or two to really think through it and then implementing on Monday, and then we had all week to watch it work and work on other things. So I agree with you. I think that having that ability to take the weekend to really reflect is important. And until we get to a point where we have millions of users who all can't use the product because it's down, I need to make my feeling of anxiety of like something is broken. I need to meditate a little more.
What have you observed in our tracking to inform what you think should be prioritized in next week's build?
Let me share my screen. So, pull up Slack. I created this channel just for for me and you.
User conversations is the last one.
Oh, thank you. Okay, cool. Where I'm just going to be taking messages from Telegram and the founder dashboard and kind of transcribing them and then putting them in order, and then kind of doing a deep dive on the stats. So on this. This was from yesterday, so I didn't do today, or maybe this was from the day before, and then I posted it from yesterday. I posted it yesterday, and I still have to do the one from today. But we didn't have that many messages to send today, so it's interesting to see the user flow of like, are people use it and then they don't use it for a day or two, and then like when they come back. But anyways, when I first started tracking this, we had 8 people using the app that day. Of that, Carolyn was the best conversation. She got the most results, and the metric to track that was she sent me the email saying, I'm already blown away. Interestingly enough, if we go to her conversation, founders, recoupable, and we look into it, the first message she got was incorrect. Let me see. Here it is. So it was so funny because so she sent this. Tell me about fans of See You Next Year. This is something I want to bring up, but I have a question for you that I'm a little confused about her user scenario, but I'll tell you in a second. But she said, tell me about fans of See You Next Year. And then it said, based on the data, See You Next Year currently has 164 followers across social platforms. And I was like, oh, fuck, that's incorrect. Because like I know See You Next Year has more. So like I was assuming that it just took, it's saying like the scraped fans and calling them followers across all social media platforms. And I was like, fuck, she's gonna, like, that's a bad response, like lowered trust, right? And then she said, suggest strategies to grow follower base, because that was like one of the suggestions that it said.
She just copied and pasted it, right? She didn't even think about it.
Yeah, she just copied and pasted, what would you like me to do? And she picked number 2. So like she actually read through this, which was good. And then it gave her very generic growth strategies. And I was like, why is it so generic? And then I realized that her artist is at See You Next Year with an @ But when I set up her account and I go into Superbase, if I have it, this artist at See You Next Year is not in her fans, or is not in her artist's table, artist account IDs table. So I don't know how she's on this artist room. Like I haven't figured that part out. But what that means is that this artist that she's talking to doesn't have a knowledge base, because I put the knowledge base of See You Next Year in a different artist account in her account, one that doesn't have the @ it just says See You Next Year. So I was like, okay, that's weird that she doesn't have a knowledge base, but then that makes sense why it's being so generic and not giving the data. So then 540. So like this was like through 10 minutes, I was like trying to figure this out and freaking out that she's going to get a bad response. And then in the same conversation, she asked about Radio's fan base. And then it worked. And this was like the moment, Sweets, that if we can get every conversation to be from this point to wherever she ends. Long combo, but look how incredible the responses are. So tell me about his fan base. It goes through specific names and the exact follower account. Like telling the subscriber numbers, monthly listeners.
Did you add those numbers into the knowledge base? Because YouTube is not something we're scraping.
I have to check the knowledge base to see if it has it. It might, but it also might have called.
Can you expand the reasoning on this specific response?
Yes.
Knowledge. So it says knowledge base is what it is pulling. Interesting.
In the audience and platform metrics from unique knowledge base section. Yeah.
So okay. So yeah. That came from the knowledge base that you set up in your deep research of manual onboarding, the white glove experience.
Correct. So like having that drastically improves the context of the artist. And then it said what IRL experiences would connect with his fan base. And it came up with all of these very specific, unique experiences. So like a block.
Yeah, super specific.
Yeah. Washington Heights block party combining classic hip hop and modern art. dreams to reality wall for fans to write. Like it's like rodeo raps. Like it's coming up with really cool shit. Unicorn Underground Gallery, and again, it's because the deep research, like Cartoon Cipher Festival, uh, because the deep research has all of that information, like who his subcultures are, where he is located, etc. And then what did it do? Then she asked what would be good brand partnerships for his for a strategy. Also, keep in mind, this is like all her, like this is her questions that she's asking. Like there's no prompt suggestions anymore. So these are just things that
At
she's
this point,
asking.
she's engaged. At this point, she actually is sincere in her desire to learn new things.
Correct. Because she's seen that it knows who this artist is. And then it goes into ideal categories. So technology brands like Adobe, Wacom, whatever, the hundreds, Kid Super, streetwear, but it's like giving decent, like these could be more niched out, but it's giving the why and like then giving partnership models. So like, it's just, again, like just a great answer for like her specific artist at his specific stage of his career. And then this was like the killer. It said what festivals should we play at, and it pulled up like Brooklyn Afropunk because he's in New York. It pulled up like more niche, like Broccoli City Festival, and then it goes up in ranking. So tier 2 is like in 18 to 24 months, you can maybe do the Fork and Lollapalooza, and then aspirational, of course, is Coachella. But like then it lists a strat. So, anyways,
here did this use Perplexity in this one?
Let's see. From the knowledge base.
Give size, alt hip hop, I'll categorize. Does it ever talk about doing search?
It doesn't. But I can't imagine it knowing with like, but maybe that's something that we need to think about adding is like a way to know, like,
it usually will say
to
if it does, it'll usually say like I'll search for this, or I'll use the Perplexity Ask tool. Interesting.
Yeah,
it would have had to. I don't know how it would have known the small things. An LLM would never have known. The bigger, like Lollapalooza, yeah, but those smaller ones you were saying, like Brooklyn, no way. And yeah, normal LLM's not going to know that.
The big question is that a real thing?
In 2023, at least. Try the latter one, which is just the .com. See if they've got one being planned for 2025. January 27th. For Palestine, maybe it looks like.
I don't know. But anyways, the point of the matter, I guess, like we can always improve and okay, cool, add links to this, like add an agent that like actively like checks this output and then like doubles and makes sure that these are actually existing, or like, cool, now go do research on top of like, this. There's a lot of things that we can do to enhance this even more. But the core idea is like the conversation, even though it started off with a hiccup, and luckily she, she's the type of user that pushed through it to try another one, got to a place where the product was incredible. She hasn't used it since. So my next stage is asking, okay, why hasn't she used it? What else what can I do to continue to have her come back to the platform? Is it like a daily email of like, hey, I just learned this about your artist, check this out? Or is it like, what can I do to keep her active and keep the trust going up?
Right.
But this is like the perfect example. So this made me feel grounded. And then going into, I had Buju and Paloma, which had mid-level responses. So they worked, but they were kind of generic. Both of these don't have a knowledge base because I didn't set them up enterprise-wise. They just used the platform.
Paloma came organically, seeing I always post on a daily basis when I'm using Recoup. I take a screenshot and I'll post it on Farcaster and on Twitter. And Paloma saw what I posted on Farcaster, replied below of like, whoa, an AI agent for musicians. And then I replied to her with the main landing page of recoupable.com. And then, like you said, she onboarded herself with the marketing out, just the content that I was putting out on a daily basis, which felt awesome because I, in general, have not been seeing conversion from I put out content to someone signs up. And so it was great to see at least one person this week saw the content I was putting out and then didn't just go in and set up account, but started chatting and went decently deep into the convo before, like you said, that hitting a point where the results were not tailored to her because we didn't have correct onboarding to handle those cases, because so far we've been prioritizing the white glove onboarding and have still things to be desired on our organic onboarding flow.
Correct. What I realized is that everybody on this list, besides Caroline, was not onboarded by me yet, which is very interesting, right? Like, so every fucking fire to know that everybody here, besides Bradley, because like we didn't onboard him exactly. Like,
he jumped in before you even like sent him an email. He just went onto our site organically and tried it out.
I hit him up and said, create an account so I can start like doing the scraping for you.
He just went right in and started chatting.
And he just, yeah, that's what happens. They just go in and start chatting. So, and then like the majority of people also, besides James, who's from Black Flag, which didn't have a conversation, he went right into segments and only ran a segment report. Which we don't get Telegram alerts for segment reports, and I can't see a combo for Telegram reports, or even for segment reports. But I did get an email, which I thought was interesting because I set up his account. I get the email when he runs a segment report. I don't know if he also gets it, but that was how why did I just get this segment report email? And it's of a Black Flag, segment. But it makes sense why he's going to segment reports is because when we did our demo, like that's what we were harping on.
That was our Q1,
right? Like, so he was like, he demoed, when he saw me demo the product, it was go to segments, click generate a report to find all of this data. But with the exception of him, everybody else jumped on the app and started to chat and didn't set up an artist correctly. And then also didn't chat with a knowledge base. So it's showing us the like, kind of like, okay, cool. Like if the product is there, it's working. Now we just need to figure out retention, right? Because once we figure out retention, then it makes sense to go and market the shit out of this thing, because we know that people are going to come on and stay on. It works. They stay on. And now we can scale that marketing side of things. But like, but thinking through like what we can do to make, when Buju's first jumps on and starts talking about himself or another artist or whatever, like how do we get him to Caroline level conversation? And then how do I integrate a system that continuously reminds him or sends him value automatically to pull him back to the app to do more things, like to keep going. So like we're so on the precipice of like a fucking incredible flywheel. It's just the little kinks. And then the reds are Diego and Bradley. Those are the 2 times that the chat broke that I could track. And then these 2 people ran segment reports, so I didn't have too much data around chat. So anyways, the observations around this is just 25% of the time chat broke. And then looking into that, about half of the chats broke because of the rate limit. The other half was objects. So I think you're dead on when you say the most important thing right now is how do we make it so that chats don't break when users ask questions? The second most important thing is figuring out onboarding, because 50% of the users skipped setting up an artist. And I'm leaning also the other 50% didn't have knowledge bases, or the other 40% didn't have knowledge bases. So, figuring out the onboarding flow, and then also when they do onboard, should we automatically run a deep research on people? Like what's that build look like? And is it something that's is the juice worth the squeeze on onboarding? or should I continuous? Should we see if the manual perplexity tool still can give an aha moment if they set up their artist correctly?
How formalized is your process for the deep research? Are you using the same prompt every time and straight up copying and pasting the answer, or is it highly manual?
Same prompt. You want to see my prompt?
Yeah. Walk me through how your knowledge base is. For anybody that's watching, Sid's been doing a lot of white glove onboarding, and so when he sets up, whenever we get a new record label, Sid will take their repertoire, their list of artists, and then he'll do deep research on each of those artists. And so far that's all been on Sid, and now Sid's talking about building that into the product to, one, make it so that anybody gets this benefit, not just people that Sid directly is focused on. I think that's the main focus. And two, making it so that Sid does not have to focus on this, so that it frees Sid up to focus on more creative acts, which are not manual and monotonous and repeatable.
Correct. And also I did some research. There are some open source deep research repos. So it's not something that we're going to have to build from the ground up. Like, people have been trying to recreate the deep research functionality in all of these apps. So I'm sure it's not a gigantic lift to like just grab one of those deep repo or deep research repos and kind of, add it in. But I'll show you the prompt. This is the prompt. So I'm a music manager working with the music artist X. My job is to help manage projects, campaigns for X. I just replace the artist name every time. For upcoming releases and growing fan base, I would like you to research the artist and write a report that I can use as a knowledge base to ground all my chats with LLMs in. I usually chat with LLMs about helping to strategize revenue-driving campaigns, identify opportunities, et cetera, et cetera. I hate when LLMs give me obvious feedback, like post short-form content and do pre-sales campaigns. Please write a detailed report about the artist, on who they are, where they come from, where they're going. Include deep analysis into marketing metrics, unique fan bases, information, so that I can have a better conversation about strategy because the LLM uses the report as context. Then I drop their Instagram, and then I say at the end of the report, make an immediate revenue opportunities section. Don't give me campaign ideas like Web3 or obvious marketing. I change Web3 if, like for Bradley, I obviously removed that. And I said add campaigns like Web3. So like I tailor it a little bit around the person, but majority of the time I tailor it for job function, industry, and leadership level. So if it's like project managers or music marketers, I'm pretty much leaving this as is. I changed up the one for the CEO of Rostrum to be a little bit more high level, and then I just dropped the opportunity sentence prompt from the that was in the Figma, and just kind of explaining how I want it to lay shit out. So that's what it is. And then it asks me like a couple questions, usually like what platforms should I prioritize? I usually just literally say all, or like do public data, like just be very quick about it. And then it gives me a knowledge base of the artist's profile and background, current career status with fan base metrics, audience insights, messaging, resonance, what they love, what songs, like examples of fan base, what the fans care about, fan base clusters and communities, positioning in the music landscape. So it gives me like this like really awesome knowledge base to start with, career trajectory, growth indicators.
And you copied this entire document and threw it into a document and added it as their knowledge base? No changes, just copied it word for word?
Copied it word for word, put it to a plain text file, uploaded it into the knowledge base.
Nice. I didn't know that deep research was not included in the OpenAI API, and I just looked and can confirm your observation.
It is not.
It is not, but it does seem like there's a bunch of open source options, some official from like LangChain, some unofficial that's Google Forks. So if it's valuable, there are templates we can build on to build our own solution.
Correct. Like it's either, there's two ways to go about it, right? It's either on artist creation, we run a deep research and then add to their knowledge base, or on artist creation, we use this same prompt to just trigger the perplexity tool to do, like, I don't know. Actually, I don't know. We have to try different ways to go about it. But grounding this, I guess the question is what's the word I'm looking for? The observation is, of all of the conversations from the day I was tracking, one had a knowledge base and one I got an email saying, I'm blown away. So we could do with that. And I don't know if it's cause or not, but
I agree that proprietary data makes our product significantly better than the generic tool set.
That's cruel. That's absolutely true. And I'm very, very confident that the majority of people, 80%, at least 80% of people, are not running their own deep research reports on themselves and then feeding that into LLMs as they chat. So like they're assuming the LLM just knows who they are and what they do. Like, and then they're like, well, why is this thing so dumb, when they don't get what they want? All right, that's my spiel about user messages from yesterday, and what I'm excited about going into next week is continuing this like observation of what's happening in the app and how can we make it better for users. Do you have any thoughts or comments from everything we just talked about?
I wrote down next week goals for myself, what I've got so far. LLM fallback model. Object error needs more robust. We need to get that object into human readable text. And onboarding of organic onboards, getting them into a more standard funnel where we get enough info to be able to start building that proprietary knowledge base, whether it's deep research, using Apify webhooks, using Perplexity Ask, some set of tools that can run to build that understanding. I also wrote down Q1, we were able to focus and get to a goal of segment chats was our focus. Q2, I don't know that we've defined a concrete goal or focus that we are sailing towards for this quarter. So what I've written down so far is increased retention of chatters. What that potentially looks like is tracking numbers like number of first-time chats. So how many people are signing up and having number of first-time chats, as well as number of new chats from existing chatters, number of.
Correct. I think that metric is more important.
The second one?
Correct, because I don't want to put the gas on getting new people in until people that are currently in are using it a lot.
So what else?
Then we put the gas on number one.
Is, from your perspective on the growth and sales side, is that an appropriate Q2 goal for the entire quarter? The goal is to increase the retention of the people that are currently using the product, or do you see a different horizon that we're sailing towards that you hope to rise at the end of Q2?
I love that.
Retention of chatters.
I love that. Yeah, and then just base everything around that. What is stopping?
What will increase the number of new chats from existing humans that have already signed up that have already had a first chat? Once they have a first chat, they enter into our awareness, and now you're someone that we care about, because now we want to figure out what you need in order to come back and continue to get value out of this. If you keep coming back, it'll be natural that you'll talk to your friends about it, your family about it, if you're using it on a regular basis, and then that feeds into the flywheel of automatically new people come in. Sure, we continue to do marketing, but the main foundation is people love the app enough to keep coming back. They're getting enough value to keep coming back. That feels like a good.
Yeah, correct. I couldn't agree more that that is our quarterly North Star, because whatever we do there, like monetarily, it's to double our current revenue. Like, but in order to double our current revenue, we have to get the people who are doing free trials to use it enough to justify giving us money for it.
Yep, we need to have one, like Brian from Airbnb said, find one single person that loves the product and focus exclusively on that one human. Last quarter, we got ourselves to using the app. I now use the app on a daily basis. It has fully replaced my usage of ChatGPT and any other model. I exclusively use Recoup when I talk. That is rolled over in every other thing that I do. All the live streams I do are prepared by Recoup. Anytime I have a question, it goes through Recoup. When I'm doing my taxes and I need to write an email, I throw the response I'm going to send to my tax advisors into Recoup to clean up my emails. Everything goes through Recoup now. And so now I talk about it on a regular basis organically. And if we can figure out how to get people doing the same, this feels like focusing on the goal. I want to increase the retention of chatters. What are the key metrics that we are tracking this week? Can we quantify the observations we have this week to create a baseline of how we are doing on that goal, so that when we check in on a weekly basis, we can quantifiably report our progress towards the horizon of increasing retention of existing chatters? What are the quantifiable metrics we can talk about during this conversation to document where we are at, to objectively judge the progress we are making in the week to come?
I can create, I could document exactly how many people are first-time chatters, and then just literally track how many messages they send per day, and we can track it just like that.
Are these numbers in a place where we could talk about them on this call, or do we need to focus next week on building better systems so that you can be able to quickly recall them during our hour-long live streams to reflect on that objective number?
I'm going to need to build it, but I can build it because I'm already working on the founder dashboard, and working on the, I'm already working on the founder dashboard. So I'll integrate it with that because it's already getting messages. I just need to add in the logic of how many, if the person sent a message, how many messages has they sent since then, what time in between, what's the averages, and I'll try to figure out the best way to kind of create a very simple, intuitive interface to talk to us about our metrics that matter this quarter. Okay. But I really love that metric. It's such a good
What do you think, what is missing for us to be increasing the retention of chatters moving into next week? Seeing and you doing your tracking on the conversations, reaching out to people, what is missing on the tech side, or what is insufficient on the tech side? What can be, what if we focus on will move us in the most effective way towards increasing the retention of chatters in this coming week?
What is missing other than the way to track it, or a clear way to track it? A feedback system for them to be able, I don't know if they'll even be able to give us feedback. That's the one thing I think that when you asked the question, I immediately went to, it might be something I need to think more deeply on. My first initial response was like, there's no way for them to tell us if it was a good chat or not without me going in and finding out and then assuming. Obviously, if it breaks, it's a bad chat. But like Paloma is a good example of like, her conversation was like, who am I? And then it like answered, and then she gave her Instagram and it answered, but like from the context of a musician. And she was like, I'm not a musician. and then it answered like, and so like I don't know what she would rate that conversation.
Mhm.
So I don't know if she, like what's stopping her, if anything, from coming back. So like I guess what's missing is like we can track the retention, and we can track errors, but we can't track like value. We're assuming the value right now, but I don't know if we need to build that into the system yet. I don't think that's a. I think I can do it manually. We don't have enough. There's not enough users yet where I'm overwhelmed when it comes to manually doing the tracking stuff. Like I think I can continue the process of emailing people. It also gives me a reason to stay up to date with everybody. It also makes it very personal. So I can continue that. And I think the most important thing we need to focus on, Sweets, from a tech side of things, is what you saw and what you suggested, which is how do we increase how do we increase working chats so people hit less errors? Because that's like, I think the biggest blocker right now is if you're a new user and the chat stops working randomly and doesn't give you a feedback of why, then it just seems like our app is broken.
So the most important thing to focus on the tech side is decrease errors in chat.
Yeah, decrease decrease the errors. It increased the amount of chats that work.
On the 1RPM side, my main focus for this week was to create a tool for them so that we can reach out to them and re-engage them and say, you asked for this thing, we built this thing, we are on your team and willing to build the exact things you are asking for on a quick iteration cycle. I built a version of the Get Artist Comments. We have not told them about it yet. What is preventing us from reaching out to them to reactivate them and tell them that we built the thing that they asked for?
Anthropic rate limits. When I tried the query, it's the chat stopped working.
So you haven't actually.
Actually, I don't know. I'm sorry. I don't know if it was an anthropic rate limit. Let me check.
I think you got object.
You asked me. I got object. So yeah, again, it's that error of like, if we ask some queries, if we ask the question, it just doesn't, like the chat just stops.
Can you share and try it again? Because it sounds like you haven't actually seen it yet, so it makes it hard to.
Yeah, let me share.
Can you do a new chat?
Yeah, let me do. I did one for here.
If you want to copy the same prompt, that's fine. But
this is also something I want to do really quickly this week, is just organize this list by alphabetical, except for the top one, because it takes me forever to find artists. Anna, do you see Anna? Or is it Anna?
Control F.
Oh, maybe it's here.
Anna Barbara.
No, that wasn't who it was. It was Tori. Come on, man. Tori. All right, whatever. I'm just going to do it for a new one. All right, Anna Barbara, new chat. Same one?
Yeah. You've done scraping with this musician, right?
Yes. Like, it did work when I asked it to show me the the last comment from my last post. I got it working there. It's just when when we started to ask it for like broader, like what are the most important comments and why. Yeah, that's where it did.
Telegram error. What did we see? We got object there, so not helpful for debugging. Can you try again? New chat. So current error reporting, object. We don't know what the error is, so anything we try to fix is going to be muddling in the dark and not clear navigation of reality. New conversation. Did it say it's doing two tools? Or was it just doing the comments?
Yes.
Is it getting posts and no? Oh, okay, just saying it needs that parameter, which it already has, because it's included in the system prompt. Okay.
Boom. So like when it's a very direct query, the tool works, which is great. So like in theory, get artist comments works because it does get the artist.
Your other comments should work.
It's when
if you try that, I think you're trying to associate like your prompt determined the crash. My hypothesis is it's unrelated. So I think if you tried that original prompt you did again, it should work.
Let's try. Sweets, I love the tool though. I just want to also say that. Like I love what we've built.
The product as a whole.
It's so, yeah, man, it's so fucking cool. And if we get this right, when we get this right, like when you're just able to just be like, yo, who should I comment to? Boom, boom, boom. This person is, all right, cool. Can you please write a comment for me and respond to them? Boom, 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 it goes and does it. Like, all right, cool. Can you, to let you know, I set up a meeting with a white label distribution company on Friday, where they have an API so that you can distribute music. So I thought that might be a crazy tool to call, where you could just in Recoup be like, drop this song on April 4th, and then you just drop the MP3 and it goes and like distributes the music to Spotify. Okay, here we go. All right, it works. Look at that.
So we built the tool before you said Anthropic is blocking you. Is that you still don't plan on reaching out to 1 RPM until after LLM fallback gets implemented next week?
I mean, look, I'll ask you, what do you think we should do it? I've tried to use the tool 3 times, maybe 4 times, and of the 4 queries, 2 of them failed and 2 of them were successful. So it's like a 50-50 chance that when we send them or when we tell them about the tool, that it's going to work in the way that we expect it to work. Is that good enough to send?
Probably not.
I agree. Although I want to send it because we did build it. I don't want to discredit us by saying, hey, we built this cool thing, and then 50% of the people that use it, it actually doesn't work, and then we lose credit or trust in their eyes.
Okay. So how I started this week is the most important focus. Straying to get the tool out, was that a misstep? Instead of focusing on the errors,
No,
I got the tool out that we had planned for last week. Was it a misstep to focus on the goals that we set last week instead of continuing on the bug things that were defined after this call? The Telegram bot that was kind of sporadically added.
I'm saying no because I remember you asking, should I keep working on the bug, or should we let the bug? Should we observe the bugs over the week and then reprioritize accordingly? And I think that was the right call. Is giving the space to see, is this really a bug that's affecting everybody? Like, what is the bug? Like, I think, and then in the meantime, you went and built the tool that we needed to. So I think that was the best choice, to not rush to like, something's not working, we need to figure out what, like, heads cut off, like, I think it was the good call to say, let's observe the chats. And we have observed the chats over the past 2 days. We now see it's about a 50-50 rate of bugs. We know that 50% of the bugs are caused by rate limit. So that's a very clear direction of how to fix that bug. The other 50% is kind of like, all right, we gotta
object.
We gotta spend more time.
Okay.
On it.
Not new features, but focusing on making the product more stable. Makes sense. It's not the most exciting thing to build, but the work isn't the magic is in the work that you're avoiding. And so now's the time to fix that. We've got roughly 4 or 5 minutes left. My current list, my overall weekly goal is decrease errors in the chat. Sid is seeing, you said 20, what's 25% crash, or what's your stat that you're looking at right now?
My stat is 25% crash on Monday. I'm sorry, on Tuesday. I'll run the numbers today, but it seems like it's pretty similar. We have less users using, so but I'm gonna this time account for our messages as well.
So the goal is less than 25% of chats crash next week. Get that number lower than it is this week.
Yes.
That's my main goal that I will be orienting myself around, is what are the things that I could be focusing on that will maximally decrease that number that is currently at 25% of chat crashing? What is the one thing such that by doing it, everything else becomes easier or unnecessary in reducing the amount of chats that are crashing? What's the domino that I can put down that by flicking down that domino, the rest of the dominoes fall more naturally with achieving this goal of decreasing the errors in the chat?
Exactly. I love that. And I will be focusing on tracking our metric of increasing retention, making it really easy for us to pull up stats on that during our weekly calls and just track it daily. And then I will be focusing on building the relationships with our current users and just keeping those lines of communication open, and making sure that they are getting value either from me or from chat at least every other day. And there we go. Look at us on time. No late.
Not late.
We have 3 minutes to spare. It never happens.
No. Are there other things you want to cover? Or do we do our sign off?
I think we can do our sign off. We're good.
Thank you all for staying with us this week. If you stuck around this long, as always, make sure you give us a like, give us a follow so that more people can see exactly as we build out Recoup in public. And thank you for tuning in. We'll see you next week.